In teaching writing, I'm learning new things about writing. David B. Coe.
You're listening to Writing Roots, brought to you by Aspen House Publishing.
Welcome to Writing Roots. I'm Lee Hull.
And I'm Lee Esses. Today starts our final season of the year. And with that, every year we try to do a frequently asked questions.
These are the topics that don't really fit into any other topic that we've covered through the year because we do a theme every month. And sometimes there are just one-off questions that don't fit a whole theme, that we can't do a whole month around. So we like to use December as that opportunity to fill in the blank, fill in those questions that we've received or that we've seen a lot in the writing world over the last year.
We exist to answer questions. So whatever the time of year, if you have a question that you want to pose to us, please ask us right away so we can answer you and keep you writing as much as possible. If we get the chance, we will also cover it during this month at the end of the year. But these questions that we're talking about throughout the rest of this month have popped up in various places throughout the year. We've kind of accumulated them for this series intentionally.
Today's question is one that we get asked a lot in person. When we are doing writing events, conventions, anything like that, we get a lot of people asking us, why do you have a podcast?
We were recently in Utah at Dragonsteel, and we had one person who just couldn't wrap her mind around the fact that we do a podcast strictly to help other authors, that we don't have any sponsorship. We don't have any particular income source that this directly generates. It's just to help other authors like us. So the quick answer to that question, why do we have a podcast, is to help people the way we wished other authors could have helped us when we were first starting out.
And for the longer answer, there's a few reasons. We learned a lot of lessons the hard way. We had a lot of trial and error and struggle through our writing journeys individually. For me, I had a lot of struggle just figuring out how to get started, just figuring out how to get past the first or second or third chapter, because I wasn't in a place yet where I got the group, the community around me that I really needed in order to write.
One of the things that I like to tell people as far as us learning these lessons the hard way is if I ever get the opportunity to travel back in time and give a flash drive to younger version of me, these are the types of things I wish I knew when I first started out. How do I identify that my sentence has a confusing timeline? That took me way too long to figure out.
I needed the Writing Roots motto, write selfishly, to give me the motivation to actually write the story that I wanted to write without worrying about everything else. So if you ever find me at a convention or at an in-person thing, that's what I tend to tell people, is that when I tell them about our motto, write selfishly, it's because we want people to write their story the way they want without worrying about anything else, because that is the biggest lesson I've had to learn.
Another answer that we have to this question of why do we have a podcast comes down to we want authors to be able to have a reliable, ongoing resource to continue growing their skill set. A lot of people who are just starting out, they will see writing as a solitary effort where I have to go sit in the shed and be cold in order to write without distraction. That's not what we want for you. We want you to have this community, these people like us who can help reinforce your goals.
And part of that is having the trusted community, a resource that you can go to that you know isn't going to be biased or pointing you towards certain resources because they're going to get a cut of it. We don't have any sponsors. We don't have any ads for a reason. If you are getting ads, that is the podcast app. That's not us. We're not getting any revenue from that. And it's because we want you, our listeners, to know we are not being influenced by anything. We just want to help you with your writing.
And we want to be that watering hole for good information. We want people to be able to come to us anytime they have a question and go, is this weird? Can I not introduce my main character until the second chapter? How do I find a good place for information where I can just look up or ask these questions that I might be intimidated by my creative writing teacher or my writing club or whatever? Ask us. That's why we're here.
Community is so important. That's why we have our Discord channel, which, by the way, if you haven't joined that, go to our website. We have a link to it in the resources tab. Having a writing community is so important because you can get encouragement, you can get help, you can have people who understand writing helping you out of binds that you find yourself in with writing. You can have that support system to encourage you because being a writer is hard. It is a lot of work that feels like it should be alone. You are working on the story by yourself and you need to be separated or whatever. But you still need a community because you don't want writing to be lonely.
That being said, reach out to us. Let us know how we can best support you. If you really wish we had more episodes on building and maintaining an audience for your books, or if you really wish we could answer this or that question that's hyper specific to your story, reach out to us. Let us know how we can best help you. That's why we're here.
Another reason why we have a podcast is because, like our quote says, when we teach about it, we learn about it. We are constantly learning as well. When we do the research for different episodes, sometimes we cover episodes where we are not already experts in, and we have to take the time to learn about it, to research it. And it's a great resource for us to keep learning in our own journeys.
And I feel like we also get a selfish kind of benefit from being able to communicate this information because so many of our listeners are asking questions that just haven't crossed our minds. The episode that we have scheduled for a week from now, that question is not something that I've necessarily thought to flesh out, but answering the question for that particular episode has helped me examine how to write these particular things. One of the things that we as hosts, what we like to do is answer as many questions that people have on the forums as possible. So to answer the question, why do we have a podcast? One of the great things about it is we can give a short answer of make sure your dialogue is no longer than 2 sentences per person speaking. And then also reference a 10-minute episode on the forums, give them a link for something deeper to answer that question. The podcast is a great resource for conveying specific answers to specific questions.
I actually just recently did this in the last couple of days where I saw somebody talking about head hopping. We just covered that topic. They were asking, and it seemed like they were merging the question of multiple point of views versus head hopping, and some of the answers were kind of suggesting that that was the same thing. So I was able to jump in there and be like, hey, these are 2 very different things, and here's a couple of podcast episodes to represent this problem, why it's a problem, how to fix it.
One of the things that we've also done in designing this podcast is you can listen to any episode first. You can listen to them in any order. You can just sift through and find the ones about marketing and listen to those. We do have series that are about a bigger scope of something, but if you specifically want to know what developmental editing is, you don't have to listen to the whole series in order to get context for the answer to that question.
And because of that, because we've designed it to be listened to in any order, it is also really shareable. You can find relevant episodes for your writing clubs, for forums that you're in online. For really anything, you can find relevant episodes and just share those. We've had in the past a professor at a college using our episodes for his courses.
And again, we want as many people to have access to this information as possible. So we don't have any barriers on it. If you want to download the extended version of our Descent into Madness episode, and listen to it 4 times in order to make sure you get all of the deep information, you can do that. Because we're an educational resource, you can take our podcast episodes wherever you want.
So in summary, why do we have a podcast? Because we want to help you tell the story only you can tell. We've been doing this for, 4.5 years.
468 episodes. I guess today would be 469.
Through all of those years and all of those episodes, I have become a much better writer. For one, I've actually written, I've actually published because of this podcast, because of the community that we've built, and because of the encouragement that I received from the outside to keep writing. That's what we want for all of our listeners as well. We want this to be a resource and a source of encouragement, of community, and of support in your individual writing journeys, because it is going to look different than our journeys. But we hope that the information that we've provided you throughout these many, many episodes and many years, that it has given you the resources you need to pursue your writing.
We ran into somebody at Dragonsteel recently who just needed the encouragement and permission to write. She felt like she couldn't get anything right, that there was nobody out there who wanted to read her stuff, and that she would never be Brandon Sanderson. She needed someone to hear her say, we don't want her to be Brandon Sanderson. We want her to be her. Tell her story. Tell the stories that even Brandon Sanderson couldn't tell. Because that's what we need in not only the arts community, but the world at large. So please, whatever we can do to encourage you, we want you to
write selfishly.
If you have a question or comment for our hosts or a topic you'd like us to cover, send us an email at writingroots@aspenhousepublishing.com or find us on Facebook by searching for Aspen House Publishing.